I went through and sold my business a few years ago and took off for about 3 months from the business. So I was set to come back as CEO of the business, but not an owner of the business. And hiked on the Pacific Crest Trail, which is a trail that goes north-south from Mexico to Canada. It's about 2,600 miles. I did about 1,000 miles of it, and that was plenty for me. And so there was one day I was hiking, and that was in itself a plateau jump, just kind of moving from being a business owner to not.
To being a hiker.
To being a hiker, right. And so there was one day, about a weekend, and you actually hiked with me for the first 109, 110 miles or so. And
110, let's go up. Let's say that. That sounds better.
It does.
Yeah.
And so that actually was a big deal for me when you left.
I was really sad.
I started to, I don't think I've ever told you this. I was in, I can't remember, I think it was Warner Springs.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where you left.
That's like the first,
first town you get
real
to.
town. And by town, it just means they had a post office.
It's
like
barely a
they
town.
It wasn't like, you know.
Yeah, the people who live there are in the tens, I think.
Right. Yeah.
And so there was another hiker that I was sitting with, and
this is after I left?
Yeah, you were gone. So this was the next day. And I was talking to this other hiker, which I actually, funny enough, ended up seeing in Oregon. So this Warner Springs is
Southern California.
100 miles from the Mexican border.
Yeah. Very much Southern California.
Ended up seeing her again in Oregon.
Wow.
Right. Cross paths with her there. So I'm telling her that, because she's asking the question, who are you hiking with? Where are you going? Horrible things. And I start telling her that I'd been hiking with you and that you had just left. And I started tearing up. I started getting super emotional. And it was a big thing because now I realize I'm on this journey by myself.
Yeah.
Whatever this journey has to teach me, I've got to learn. Yeah. And I'm up, and it's up to me. And so a few days later, I'm hiking up Mount San Jacinto. And it was really snowy because it was starting early in the year.
This is still in California?
Still in California, yeah. So I'm hiking Mount San Jacinto. And so I take this odd route because I had learned that there had been some accidents because of the snow and the ice. And it was pretty dangerous. So I was going sort of an alternate path. Somebody, like the day before, had fallen down the mountain, really, really gotten hurt. And so I'm going up through the snow. And there are these footprints, and so I'm just following the footprints. And because that's easier, right, than making your own path, right? Yeah. So I'm following somebody else's path.
You don't have to crunch through the snow. You can just step on the already hard compacted snow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm going along and just kind of not really paying attention. I'm just kind of in this zone where I'm just kind of moving along, not really wondering where I'm going, where I am, or what I'm doing. And I stop and I decide I'm going to check, progress. I'm going to check my map. I check my map and I'm nowhere near where I needed to be.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I'm not even close to the trail. And so I start off in a different direction, check my map again, and now it's worse. And so, and not the best orienteer, I guess. And what I realized was that I got lost. I got on this spot because I didn't know where I was. I hadn't checked where I was going. And I was following somebody that I didn't even know where they were going.
they might not have
I didn't even know who it was. They might have been lost.
Yeah.
And so I stopped and I wrote down those 3 things. I said, know where you are, know where you're going, know who you're following. And so I'm like, all right, well, this journey is going to start teaching me something. And so I thought, all right, well, I will go. I looked at where I needed to be and I thought, I'll take a shortcut. So I head down this hill to this creek and I'm going to cross the creek, right? This tree had fallen. And so I'm making my way across this tree. I'm kind of, walking across this tree, across this creek. And I realized that all of a sudden the tree shifts or I shift. I don't know what, but
Okay.
something happened and I almost fell into the creek. I don't think I ever told you that. And I looked down, and this would have ended me if I'd fallen. And I would have
Really?
been there, certainly not able to get out. That I would
Yeah.
have had broken things,
Mhm.
right? And I'm like, oh, nobody ever would have found me because I'm not on the trail.
Yeah.
I'm nowhere near the trail, not where anybody would be.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is dumb. I backtracked through these steps, these footprints, and that was easy. So I start going backwards against the trail where I'd come, and I found the sign that I had missed, and the sign that pointed the right way. And the reason I missed it is that the sign was buried in the snow. So only about 3 or 4 inches of this sign, which was a 5-foot tall sign, was poking up through the snow. So it was easy to miss. It's not where you look for signs. And so I stopped and I wrote down another note, and I wrote down, look for hidden signs, watch for the signs. And so I started heading the right direction. And from there, I thought I can learn a lot from just paying attention to things, that what life is teaching me. And I can apply it to this concept, which I knew, which was that we move through phases. We don't actually get stuck anywhere for long. It feels that way, but that we move through these phases, and these phases are important to recognize where you are, so that to get to where you want to be, you have to be purposeful, and you have to activate certain levers of change, I called them, to do that.